Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever, whenever you are in the world. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. And I'm BK. And as usual, with me, my co host, Dr. Wayne.
Hi BK. Hi everyone.
So, with that familiar intro, we start another episode. And today is the third episode about the seven spiritual laws that can help us reduce stress and increase success in our daily lives and our business lives and so on, right? I don't think we'll go to seven episodes for this. But last week we had a interesting one, Dr. Wayne, right? Because we only covered one day last week, right?
Yes, we
Which was
did. We
Wednesday.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh, if you are a regular listener, we want to thank you very much for hopping on and listening to us. We do try to bring as much value as we can and help the network marketing community because both of us feel that this is probably one of the cleanest industries we can be in, right, Dr. Wayne?
Oh my word. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And both BK. Or I'll talk about myself first. But right at the beginning, I really didn't think that. I really
I'll,
didn't think that at the beginning.
I'll just say that our industry is a little bit misunderstood.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
it's kind of like, it's just a short digression, before we jump into the topic today. But I guess, like any industry, there are bad retailers, there are bad lawyers, there are bad doctors, there are bad bankers, but it doesn't mean that the industry is bad, it just means that there are people who may not have conducted themselves in the most professional manner in those industries. And we are, in a sense, a relatively new industry because the network marketing model was invented in the 40s, maybe, or the
Right.
50s.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, right? So from an industry perspective, uh, if you are new to us, then kind of think of us as we are still new. We're the new kid on the block. So anything that is new, when we first got started, obviously some of our industry colleagues got overly excited, and maybe we were a bit too aggressive or we're not professional, and all those things. But I must say that over the years, that has been changing, right? We are attracting professionals alike, and I like what we always say about this industry. This is an industry about enterprise. It's not an industry about capital. So as long as somebody is enterprising, somebody is willing to put in the hours and effort, this industry is perfect for you, right? And of course, we are able to help very successful people who are interested in joining us, as well as people who are perhaps a little bit down and out right now, but still willing to put in the effort and help them as well, right? So it is a very level playing field, and I'm very very sure that we will only get better over time, right?
Yes. Very true. And just I suppose just going on from that, and that's what I love about it. Like if you look at, even if you look at what myself in terms of becoming a doctor of Chinese medicine. I remember going back and putting myself through college because back in those days, it it was well, it wasn't really important that you went to grade 12. Okay, if you got to grade 12, if you got to grade 10, you did well, but it was kind of like back in the 70s, it was like, yeah, you should go to grade 12. It wasn't as if you must go to grade 12. So even going to grade 12 was a big effort. And then when I got out of grade 12, of course, back then study uni and all that wasn't really a part of our normal progression. It was only for those elite 20%, 10% who went to uni, mainly because of cost and etc. And, if I reflect back, my family was very poor, very, very poor. Did extremely well in terms of keeping us together and food on the table, that's for sure. But in terms of having extra, no, that was not a part of it. Like going on a swim camp or going on a camp wasn't even a part of what I was able to do because we just didn't have the money. So what happened then, of course, is when I left grade 12 and I didn't really like school, then I had to then find out what I wanted to do. And even going to what I'll call uni back then, college, to become bachelor to get my bachelor of traditional Chinese medicine, it was something like $3,000 a term from memory, somewhere there. And remembering I'm only earning about probably $100 a week back then. Okay, so it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And I had to do that for 4 years to get my, and I had to do it and to get my Bachelor of Traditional Chinese Medicine. And I had to do it part-time, and I had to do it at night, where I actually went to college between 6:30 and 10:30 at night. And I had to do that 4 days a week, as well as going to work to earn the money to actually go to college. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because network marketing, as you mentioned, BK, and anyone who is really into network marketing understand it's one of the cleanest industries, you don't need any money to get involved. You don't need anything at all other than a coachable, responsible, motivated attitude. You don't need to buy exorbitant amounts of stock. You don't need to keep your stock in your warehouse. You don't need to learn anything new other than to keep improving who you are. It is such a low base, and as you said quite nicely, is that for the person who is in business, who understands everything that we just said, they can run with it quite well. But we've got people now who have been really down and out and have looked at their future and gone, this is not good what I can see in the future. And then they found network marketing, and now it's just turned their life around. And especially with some of the products that we have on board, it's just changed their lives in health and in wealth, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have too many of these stories in our teams, as well as the friends that we know in the industry. And I guess the other thing is that, especially, sorry, this digression is going longer than we expected, but I think it's interesting, and it's in the spirit of what we do as well, because we know that sometimes the universe can take us in areas that we may not have expected, right? So, what I really want to emphasize is that there's a very simple economic principle, which is you can either buy to sell or you can sell to buy, right? And if obviously there is some level of you still need the minimum amount, which is you kind of need to be able to afford the membership, right? But of course, there are also ways around it. We can always work out something, for example. But in essence, if you have the funds, you can always buy your stocks first and then you sell them, right? But if you do not have the funds, you can actually sell the products first and get a deposit, or maybe get even the full payment, and then you order it and then you send it to the customer, right? So this is actually about enterprise. As long as you're enterprising enough and you're willing to turn the wheels in your gray matter and work out something, then it is definitely possible, right? Of course, like we said earlier on, when we were a growing new industry, yes, there might have been practices by other people who may have wanted you to invest heavily into the business and get started. But these days, it's no longer like that anymore. Network marketing, in essence, that's one of the beautiful part about it, because you don't have to keep inventory at all, right? Because normally, your associates or your customers join you, they order from, they are linked to you because you are the referrer. But then when they order something, they order directly from the company. They make payment directly. There's no financial transaction between you and your customers. It is between them and the company. And the company is responsible for sending the products to them, right? All the way to the doorstep, right? So in a business model sense of the word, I kind of feel that it's probably the simplest and the least hassle of all, right? And what most network marketing companies do is they just leave the most profitable part of the business to you, which is the marketing, right? Right, because marketing is the only profit center, right? The other parts of the business are usually cost centers, right? So anyway, hope you enjoyed the little digression, because in fact, this is kind of what we normally do before the show, right, Dr. Wayne?
It certainly is, and it's to do with what we talked about last week, actually, BK, which was Wednesday, the law of least effort. So wherever we find least effort, meaning an easy conversation that flows, where that's where we go. So we're actually putting into effect the 7 spiritual laws of success, law number 4 being Wednesday, the law of least effort. And for those who haven't heard of the other of the 4, please go back to our prior podcast and have a listen. But Sunday was about the law of pure potential. Monday was about the law of giving. Tuesday, the law of karma. Wednesday, the law of least effort. And we actually spent a whole episode on the law of least effort, which was quite fascinating. So today we're hopefully going to go through definitely Thursday, Friday and Saturday. Sorry, definitely Thursday, but we might not get to Friday or Saturday, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, we will see how the universe guides us, right? So
Yes, exactly.
Thursday is about the law of intention and desire. So Dr. Wayne, you want to explain or guide us through this?
And Thursday, lovely day. It's inherent in every intention and desire is the mechanics for its fulfillment. Make a list of desires. Trust that when things don't seem to go your way, there is a reason. And this one here, we have gone really deep in really past episodes. But to bring a broad brush statement to what has just been said, and then we'll dig deeper into it, is that there's, from the laws of the universe, I'll call them, say, 3 steps. We could call them 4 steps, 3 or 4 steps to basically manifest. And this is what this law of intention and desire, I'll just read it again so we can get an idea of it. Inherent in every intention and desire is the mechanics for its fulfillment. So inherent in every intention and desire. So think of that as goal setting. Think of that as what you want out of your life. So then what you do is you make a list of these desires. So once again, goal setting. Trust that when things don't seem to go your way, there is a reason. And this is what we call the law of resistance. So I've often said, and I mean this nicely for those people who haven't achieved what they haven't in life as yet, but I mean it in a way that is going to help you as well. Unfortunately, the law of attraction, the law of goal settings, or the laws of goal setting, you may have even heard of The Secret. Unfortunately, there is a caveat. Unfortunately, they don't work. Now, that's pretty harsh, I know. Now, what I mean by that is they don't work. And I'll use an anecdotal understanding of this. If they did work, how come 80% of people, when they get to retirement, have to be on the pension? I'm sure at the age of 25, 35, whenever they found out about goal setting, that one of their goals was not, hey, I want to be on the pension when I retire. I'm sure it was, hey, I want to be a millionaire, or I want to be living comfortably with my family. There's all these different desires and these things that we want, but unfortunately it doesn't occur. And the main reason is because of this last phrase on Thursday, which is, trust that when things don't seem to go your way, there is a reason. And the reason is because of this law of resistance. And you may have heard of it classified as what we resist in life persists. Or another way of saying it, whatever you don't want in your life, you will attract that until you're okay with that which you don't want. So anything from there, BK, before I continue? It's an interesting subject. It's quite a deep one. I don't think we're going to get past Thursday, but we'll see how we go.
It's all right. I mean, I think it is more important that we cover it in detail and in depth, right? And I guess it's, from my case, from my angle, right? I'm just I like to make things. I like to help myself make sense of things, and the easiest way usually is to kind of look at what happens around us in our lives and so on, right? And I guess this law, in a sense, it reflects a few things as well, right? Number one, around us we might encounter people who consistently meets a certain kind of objection or difficulty in life, and they're always complaining about certain things, right? They're always coming to you and saying things like, I just had met the worst person or worst customer or worst prospect ever, and I met this, so they are always meeting with like things that they didn't really want. I'm very sure nobody wants that. I'm very sure nobody wants that kind of like nasty customer or unpleasant experience. But yet you will notice that for certain people it almost always seems to happen to them all the time,
all the
right?
time. Yeah.
And I guess that's what Dr. Wayne is trying to express here, because when they of course are resisting that, but the more they resist it, the more they are attracting it to their sphere of influence, which is ironic, but it is true, right? Because when the rest of us, when we look at the world and we are okay with the fact that there are many types of people, we are okay with the fact that, for example, sometimes somebody might be unpleasant today, but we are not unhappy with that, because to be honest, sometimes what I know, what I've come to realize, and I guess it comes with age, right? Is that people have bad days. And for
Yeah.
that moment
Yeah.
when the person is unpleasant, it might just be because he just had a terrible day, and something terrible may have just happened, you know. And then I'm okay with that. I know that it's not personal. I know that it's not directed at me. Or even if it was directed at me, I kind of understand why that happens. And so that kind of situation happens to me very infrequently, right? So I don't resist that. I understand it and I accept it, right? So perhaps that's what it means, right, Dr. Wing?
Yes. 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 And to bring numbers around and to understand it is, and it's interesting the way the brain works. And once again, we've talked about this in others, but just to bring some broad brush statements back to this particular law of intention and desire, is that by science, they suggest there's about 70,000 thoughts that we have per day, and 80% of them are unfortunately pessimistic or negative, and 90% are about the past. So this is what the law of attraction only brings to you, that which you think about the most. And that is, so if we just look at what has just been said, if 80% is that about the past, and 90% is about the past, 80% is negative, therefore that then creates our future. So whatever's back here, and we keep on thinking about, and a lot of the times we don't even know we're thinking about it. So a good thing that we've often said in other episodes as well is try and ask the question every now and again, what am I thinking about? And you'll be amazed at what you're thinking about. And then you'll actually be amazed at how pessimistic or kind of negative or judgmental it may be. And then what happens, this here then creates our future. And when I'm talking to people with regards to moving forward in their life, whether it be an elite athlete or whether it be a business person or whether it be someone in network marketing that wants to go to their next level, I usually suggest there's a number of things that the human psyche has that will bring it down in terms of its regular thoughts. So one might be because of ill health. So there might be a family history of ill health, and you might be noticing your health is not very good. And therefore, a lot of the thoughts, 80%, are about ill health, and in that particular example. Then you got someone else who now may be addicted to drugs and alcohol and that type of thing. And they're basically, their mind now is trying, and this can be food, by the way, the wrong types of food. So think of it like addiction. It doesn't matter what the addiction is. This then now becomes their thought process in the past. And now what happens now, it then creates their reality. So this is why their reality in the future. This is why it's very hard for an addictive person to get out of these addictions, because they're stuck in the law of resistance, meaning they're thinking about the past all the time. The other one then is usually around something to do with the opposite sex. So it might be to do with girlfriends, boyfriends, it might be to do with relationships, it might be to do with, and we can extend this onto having poor relationships with family. It might not happen to be exactly with the opposite sex, but it might be with families. You might find that the family is not coherent, is broken up, is just not doing what it should do. And usually what will happen then is that that person now will be basically 80% thinking about this and what's happened in their past, and it's not going well, and they're attracting the wrong person in the future, and it's not happening, because this here then attracts your future. Okay, so I can go on and use other examples, but I think I'll just stop there as a way of bringing this home in terms of the law of intention and desire, meaning the last sentence. Trust that when things don't seem to go your way, there is a reason, and that reason is within us. Now, the difficulty now is taking responsibility and then owning that responsibility and saying, hey, yes, I will own that. I will understand. I take it on that maybe I am thinking too much about the past, and then think positively about that. Okay, I've caught myself doing that. Now, whenever you catch yourself thinking about the past and then you bring about a happy thought, or you change that thought to something positive, you've now, think of it like you've now removed a part of that negative that now gains momentum, because every time you do it, eventually that negative now is no more. And this is the most important part about this, the law of intention and desire. We can have anything we want. Make a list of your desires, understand this phenomena, then you can have anything you want, and then things start to change because you're taking that responsibility, because you're starting to understand who you are at a really, really deep, deep level.
It's amazing because I kind of remember a story or a way of explaining this by one of our favorite mentors, Jim Rohn, right? He kind of, in fact, I think it was his mentor, the mentor of Jim Rohn, who said this, that Earl Shove, who said that desires are kind of like seeds, and we need to plant our desires into the ground for them to take root, right? So, in a sense, when we actualize, or when we write it down, or we put it in a form, I mean, we actually write it down somewhere, that is kind of like planting the seed. But also interestingly, because if you think of this analogy where it is planting a seed and what we are talking about today, sometimes the soil, which is us, right, might not be ready for the seed, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then we are doing certain things to help it, right? So for example, maybe the reason why this plant is not growing as well as it should be, because there's just too many weeds in the soil, and you're not removing the weeds, and the weeds are competing with the main plant that you want for the resources, right? And so all these negative thoughts that Dr. Wayne was mentioning just now, these are kind of like the weeds in our mind and the weeds in the soil that we need to remove, right?
yeah.
And it might take time, I mean, to remove 70,000 weeds per day, because that's the amount of thoughts we have every single day. It might take you a little bit of time, but what happens is that when we practice mindfulness and we kind of help ourselves, in we kind of try to be mindful and say, okay, what am I thinking about right now? And the more you do it, and I'm also noticing it myself, I catch myself, okay, this is something that I shouldn't be thinking about, and then you replace it with something else, or you correct it, and you will notice that the ability to catch yourself thinking becomes more apparent, and the ability for you to switch from a negative feeling, or a thought process to something more positive is also faster, right? And that's what
Yes.
it happens, and that's what we're trying to say. And I guess the day when you clear all 70,000 thoughts per day, and they all filled with happy thoughts, then that's when a lot of things can start happening for you, right?
Yeah, things change dramatically. And this is where we talked about, that's where we collapse time. So rather than creating that, something that you may have on your list of goals may you seemingly take, say, 10 years before you think you'll be getting there, but you can collapse time and get there in a year, for example. So this is what Thursday is about. Thursday is about understanding this law of intention and desire. Inherent in every intention and desire is the mechanics for its fulfillment. So think of it like step one, and I didn't finish this before. So think of step one is we make a list of our desires, we goal set, and these are the things that we want. The interesting thing about the universe is that step two basically now says that that is automatically fulfilled. It's already there for us because there is no lack in the universe. what happens then is step 3 is literally this last phrase: trust that when things don't seem to go your way, there is a reason, and that reason is within us. So our body holds our body holds the emotional reality of that blockage. And I've called the emotions that are trapped negatively in our bodies as the anchor. So it's kind of like the universe is saying, here is the $1,000,000, or here is the triple diamond executive rank that you want to get to, or whatever rank it is in your particular network marketing, or presidential triple ambassador diamond, whatever it may be. Then it's already there. The universe has said it's already there. It's already showing you the ways on how to do it. However, because of the physical body holding the emotionality of the negative, it blocks it, because you're not a match to that frequency that is the ambassador triple diamond, for example. And because there's no match, therefore it doesn't come as easy, or it might not even come until we totally understand this law. So think of Thursday, I believe, as one of the most important days to allow us, by using the 7 spiritual laws as per Deepak Chopra. Thursday is one of these days that we can reflect and really look deep within us to actually find out what some of these anchors may be. And I've given you some examples of what they could be. So if someone's always thinking about how I'm going to get to triple diamond, for example, and they don't feel, now remembering these things you don't know until you start asking the right questions, and you don't feel worthy of receiving that amount of money, whatever that may be in your particular compensation plan, then that's not a match. So that unworthiness now actually blocks you from receiving X amount of dollars. And it's the same, I can go on with relationships, I can go on with health, and I can use that analogy with any of those areas that we just spoke about. So think of Thursday as a really, really important day to reflect, to ask the question in silent witnessing. And then what you'll find then, that things will slowly then come your way. The rank advancement will happen faster. Things will happen faster as well, which is pretty incredible, BK.
Yeah, and I think what I really like about the Thursday law is that it is baked, both the solution is baked into the law, meaning that when you desire something and it doesn't work, right? It just means that there's something. The solution is also hidden within you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it can be resolved, and in a sense, it's interesting that it just means that you won't be able to desire something that you can't get.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So the desires that you have is likely that is planted in there for you to realize in some way, right?
Yes.
So that's what is interesting here, right? So
and remembering, just to finish that off there, and it's important to understand the universe doesn't understand the difference between good and bad. If you've got a bad desire, it'll still create that for you. So remembering the universe has no judgment. No judgment.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because we were talking about this the other day with some of my team members, and we talked about money. And interestingly, for Asians, sometimes there is this sense of false humility or false modesty, in a sense, which is baked into the culture of humility. And sometimes there's this feeling that earning money is not a good thing in a way, right? But the concept here is that money doesn't distinguish or differentiate between whether you're a good or bad person. It responds to principles, right? And if you operate in the principles of creating wealth, wealth will come to you. So a good person who knows the principles would be able to create wealth and attract wealth. A bad person, with like maybe not so great scruples, understands the principles and operates within the principles, will also be able to create wealth. And so the concept is there, right? Money is like that, because in the real world, if you look at it, there will be good and not so good people with plenty of wealth, right?
Yeah.
And that's because they operate within the principles. Now, then the other idea is that if you are a good person, then please go all out and make as much money as you can, because when you make more money, it just means that you are then able to use that money to better use, right? To put it to better use in many, many ways. And that is what I would like to emphasize sometimes to my Asian team sometimes, because we have a hang up, in this area where we kind of feel that making money or making too much money is not great for us, but it's not.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with making money. In fact, it is how you utilize the money you make that really helps the world, right?
Definitely, yeah. And tithing and giving back and it's just so important to do as well, because it just helps so many other people. And I remember reading David Attenborough's book. If you haven't read it, his latest book is absolutely fantastic. And he was talking about the best way that we can raise civilization so that we don't have to worry about too many people being on planet Earth is through education and these are my words paraphrasing, but education and also lifting them up from poverty. The more that we can do that to our society, the more we will not have to worry about how small the planet Earth is, because we'll fix the problems faster. And it's in this love of money, in the negative, that unfortunately is the what some people get tied up with. And what we're talking about, though, is using money in a way that we can help so many people, including ourselves initially, so many people to get what they want in their life as well through tithing, which is really important as well.
The concept of tithing, which is typically starts at 10%, but just bear in mind that it doesn't say that you have to stay at 10%. You can always go above
right.
that, right? Right. So it's recommended that you start at 10%, right? But the idea is that if you are a multi-millionaire, and how much money can you spend on a monthly basis based on the living expenses, even if you live a very exorbitant life, right? You might be able to survive, live very well on 20% of your income, right? And you are more than welcome to give away 80% of your money, right? So it might start with 10%. There's no reason why you should stick to 10% when you're making more money. So that's what we would like to share here. So anyway, I think
that's Monday. Remember, that's Monday too, BK. The law of giving is Monday.
Yeah, correct. So don't stick to just 10%. You can give more, right? We welcome you too. The world welcomes you too. So I think we only have time for one day as well today, and hopefully that has been beneficial to you. And once again, if you do find value in what we are sharing, please do help us out by giving, by sharing it out to your team, or maybe even sharing this out to somewhere in your social media, because I think in an effort to help the industry, this also will help, right? And help everybody along. So if you want to look at the archive episodes, please go to networkmarketerpodcast.com. And if you're watching the video, you can see it below you, networkmarketerpodcast.com. And of course, if you are interested in diving deeper into some of these spiritual laws that we are talking about, because it is important, we actually have a fully fleshed out program at 5. There's a numerical number 5, 5hiddenreasons.com, where we talk about why most network marketers fail, because they don't understand the spiritual laws, for example, and why you do not have to, right? So do check us out there as well. So with that, we end another episode, and we will see you next week. I'll see you next week, Dr. Wayne.
Will do, BK. Thanks, everyone.